We'll come again. Thank you. She was love at first sight. Political leader, Harold Lovell. Opposition leader, Honorable Jamal Pringle. Former Prime Minister, Dr. Baldwin Spencer and Lady Spencer. Former Governor General, Dame Louise Lake Tack. Other distinguished members at the head table, diplomatic dignitaries, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I am deeply honored to have been asked to speak at the 11th Biennial Convention of the United Progressive Party, the UPP, this being your 25th anniversary as a party. In this capacity, I am also very happy to bring greetings from the People's National Party, your fraternal party in Jamaica. We celebrated our 80th anniversary last year, and we stand with you. Now I have to tell you, before I came to your country, I was told that Antiguans talk like Jamaicans. But today, I was corrected. Jamaicans talk like Antiguans. We just have different words, as I learned tonight. And in some cases, you all say things like, she got knuckled. But in Jamaica, we say, she get bun. But regardless, we too are following the light. We in the PNP stand with you and all other progressive parties in the Caribbean on the principles of equality of opportunity, economic justice, and social justice. And at various points in our respective histories, the relationships between both our parties has been validated and strengthened by the bonds of personal friendship. And so in that regard, I am also pleased to bring greetings from the President of the People's National Party and the next Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. Peter Phillips, who also sends his personal regards to your former Prime Minister, Dr. Baldwin Spencer. Peter says big up. And to your current party leader, Harold Lovell. One love. Now, I am well aware that I come to you at a challenging time. Opposition is not easy. But as the good book says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. Indeed, with the new day comes new strength and new thoughts, new ways to deal with the issues that confront you. The UPP team that I see here in front of me has that capacity to come together, united in purpose and resolute in action. This is important, and let me tell you why. I am a believer in democracy for our country. It has been the most effective way to ensure that every woman and every man has a voice, has a say in the political system, no matter how much money you have. In fact, genuine participatory democracy is from the ground up. But effective democracy requires a strong and united opposition. Antigua and Barbuda needs you to give life to an effective opposition, an effective democracy. This is the key to checks and balances and activates the much needed transparency and accountability, so they're not just catchphrases. The opposition team's activism is also critical to hold corruption at bay in any country. Now, I say all this knowing that the UPP and the PNP will return to government. Yes, and even then, we will also benefit from an effective opposition. as it's a delicate balance to ensure we achieve the good outcomes of prosperity for all and not just a few. Now, sisters and brothers, while you're ready for the future, I am also a believer in never throwing out the baby with the bathwater. It's important to take relevant lessons and wisdom from the past. And I hope that our experience in Jamaica, in the People's National Party, may just yield the insight needed to propel the UPP further in its mission. Imagine this. In 1944, the People's National Party and its founding leader, Norman Washington Manley, advocated, organized nationally, and fought for the right for all Jamaicans to vote. No longer was the right based on how much land you had. Yes, Jamaica gained universal adult suffrage under the leadership of the People's National Party. But hear this. In the elections later in that very same year, the PNP and its leader suffered electoral loss at the very first polls. Yes, we were in opposition and our president had no seat. Yet, though it was hard emotionally, mentally, and financially after the loss, Norman Washington and the team doubled down and continued to organize the ground, constituency by constituency. They got to it, and they kept at it until they won the popular vote in 1949, and then the majority of constituencies winning government in 1955. Now, next lesson. In 1980, when the USA meddled in the politics of the Caribbean against what they incorrectly saw as the imminent takeover of communism, the PNP suffered a massive electoral loss. That was 1980. We won only 9 of 60 parliamentary seats. And to top it off, 3 years later, in protest against what we saw as elections based on a bogus voters list, we did not contest the general elections at all. In 1983, the People's National Party had no seat in the Houses of Parliament. However, the periods following 1980 and 1983, the People's National Party was the most directly engaged with the ground, with the people across Jamaica, learning from them and advocating strongly through different means on the national and community issues of the day. There was the 3rd week program where teams would roll out from headquarters and go across constituencies every 3rd week in a very strategic and methodical way to listen to the people, hear the concerns and their potential solutions. This also provided the means for political education that was rooted in the traditions and principles of democratic socialism. This was the core of the PNP's political organizing and rebuilding. We got to it, and we kept at it. You see the lesson? Only get it? And while we had no voice in Parliament, at least you have one. While we had no voice in Parliament, our voices rang loud through the people's forums that the PNP held across the country, which sought to hold the government of the day accountable and share our solutions with the nation. There are many ways to make a democracy come alive. This is how we created our national platform, firmly grounded in the needs and solutions of the people of Jamaica. And though it was hard Because trust me, it was hard. The team got to it, and they kept at it. And in 1989, the People's National Party was victorious at the polls. Today, we are rebuilding now in a similar way, modernized for the realities of the present situation. And so I encourage you, all the members and supporters of the UPP, the leadership of the United Progressive Party, to get to it and to keep at it. Reach out in every constituency. Connect with people of all ages, including young people, women. Connect with people across a range of backgrounds. And while you bring your own experience and wisdom, listen keenly to their lived experience, to their ideas on what can and cannot work here in Antigua and Barbuda. Using what we call an intergenerational approach. Leverage the best voices in your party to speak to all the groups that are critical to building your progressive movement. After all, your driving mission is people first. So carry the message of economic justice, social justice, and as importantly today for all of us living on small islands, carry the message of environmental justice. Justice is the cause of every progressive party. And while the people of Antigua and Barbuda, and indeed our region, have made progress, we know that there is much to do so all our people can live a good life. We have work to do, don't? Yes. So, it's not an easy road, but it's essential. So I encourage you to get to it and keep at it. And as you shape your national agenda here in Antigua, I encourage you to do so as well in the context of a regional agenda for a stronger Caribbean. In fact, we in the PNP are regionalists. And our leaders, like Michael Manley and P.J. Patterson, believed in the deepening and widening of the region. We claim our identity as Jamaicans, but we also claim it as Caribbean people. A stronger Caribbean is critical for our success, especially given the complex global dynamics we see today. After all, the Caribbean inherited from its two major trading partners, that being the US and Britain, an economic model which concentrated wealth at the top, debt in the middle, and the criminalization of the poor at the bottom. That's what we inherited. That's what we're fighting against. And to exacerbate the challenges in the region, another development whose significance is not fully understood is the shift in the center of growth and trade expansion of the world economy to the Asia-Pacific region. The game shift. Now, sisters and brothers, we in the Caribbean have been cut off historically from the Asian Pacific region, from their economy, from their language, from their history. Our traditional trade relations are with those older centers of global economic power. We are, so far, ill-equipped to deal knowledgeably with the Chinese, the Koreans, the Malaysians, and other groups from that region. In addition to those factors, a stronger Caribbean is also critical as the vision and reality of Caribbean progress is under threat all across the region. There is the re-emergence of anti-migration policies, all of which would cause hardship on many of our islands, affecting us as countries which have benefited from global migration. That's how our diasporas were born, to an open world. shutting it down could have deleterious effects on our economies. Doctrines which support a revival of military interventionism, like in Venezuela, threaten small countries like ours. Watch the runnings. We have no armies in our islands, no individual leverage available to negotiate in the same way against great trading centers and the powers of the world. Our people and the right to development can only be bolstered in a world ruled by law and not by might, not simply by strength and numbers. And so we must stand in that way around the rule of law internationally for our own sake. Caribbean development also has been undermined by the economic crisis of 2008. Yes, that's 11 years ago. However, there's probably no region where the crisis was as widespread or its effects as prolonged as it was in the Caribbean. In fact, IMF programs extended from St. Kitts through to Grenada, here in Antigua and Barbuda, Jamaica, and recently Barbados. Barbados. But kudos to Harold Lovell for successfully steering Antigua and Barbuda through those times under the leadership of your Prime Minister. Brothers and sisters, all those factors, while they are incredibly challenging, they must not stymie us. They must not paralyze us here in the Caribbean. I believe with tenacity of focus, with creativity and discipline, we can emerge stronger with a vision for a new Caribbean. Let us use the new frontiers of economic dynamism to energize ourselves, to prepare, to play in that game effectively, and with rules that work for our people and not just for foreign investors. We can find a way. I believe that fraternal, progressive parties can work together across the Caribbean to shape a progressive vision and a plan for the Caribbean. We have to individually, given the nuances of our nations, respectively, as well as collectively, given some shared challenges as a region, together define a better way. While individually, we are small countries, the Caribbean in totality collectively embraces some 28 political units. That's 28 votes at the UN. We speak 5 official languages: Spanish, French, English, Dutch, and Francophone Creole. We are global. Collectively, with a true wider definition of Caribbean, a stronger CARICOM, we actually have the power. Now, with tourism being the largest single foreign exchange earner in 13 Caribbean economies, there is an opportunity for effective collaboration on a range of issues, such as climate change and economic justice. Now, the reality of climate change is manifesting itself, as we know. We live it, right? In increasing incidences of hurricanes and flooding in the region with the rising sea levels. I understand that Antigua and Barbuda has how many beaches? 365 beaches. So clearly tourism is a mainstay of your economy. So environmental justice, in this case, is also economic justice. Let our collective voices on these issues be heard even more loudly. And I want to put this to you as a possibility for a platform. Let us, those countries with the tourism as the mainstay, let us negotiate or renegotiate with hotel partners and other investors to help build sound infrastructure for sustainable waste management, to establish environmentally sound ways for sewage treatment, and collaborate to preserve the natural beauty of our islands. They're benefiting, but how are the nationals themselves benefiting? Despite advances for some, education and training, in the Caribbean region is also lagging behind across the region. Our systems have not met the requirements to equip the labor force with the capacity to produce goods and services to compete in the global economy effectively. I believe that our countries and our region cannot grow like this. It's not possible. Our people cannot earn good incomes if they do not have the skills to be productive and compete effectively. And so I put to you that we look again as a region and determine the centers of excellence in innovation and technical capacity and invest together to bolster those areas. And let's be sure this time that this includes making business industries out of our vibrant culture and the music. So we don't just export the raw material or have it appropriated with no or little remuneration for our people. Those days must be over. We can't grow like that, and our people deserve better. Let us invest in these regional centers of excellence while each country focuses on the best way to overhaul their national education system. This will be key to breaking the chronic inequality that has been pervasive in many of our islands. Brothers and sisters, let us find the will to negotiate or renegotiate with investors to ensure that labor laws and workers' rights like health care and pensions are upheld. Let us not have foreign investors make each of us as islands be competitors with each other. That's only a race to the bottom. We all must stand for our people and the rights of our workers. Let us work creatively and with a fixity of purpose to determine how to implement a living wage for our people. This is the way to drive equitable growth and prosperity for all and not just a few. Today, sustainable companies and economies operate on 3 bottom lines. 3. And I suggest as countries, as incoming governments, we think about it similarly. And those 3 P's, the 3 bottom lines are people, profit, and planet, all in balance. This is a truly progressive way. I believe that we in the Caribbean today, you here in Antigua and Barbuda, are well poised to lead in this way, to be an example to the world. And so I ask all of you here, let's get to it and keep at it. Victory will be ours in the Caribbean. And so, as I close tonight, I want to say to you, God bless you and the people of your beautiful, beautiful island. You are on the right track, and keep at it and get to it. Thank you and good night.
Yes, ooh, I met a girl this morning. She was love at first sight.